everyone, welcome back. We are working through first food introductions for infants, and today we're going to be introducing our fifth food category, and that's going to be meats and fish. Now, we've already done homemade bone broth, we did beef, chicken, we did soft-boiled egg yolk, we did avocado, we did a variety of vegetables. So we had our brassica vegetables, we had broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, all kind of prepared, boiled in some bone broth or steamed. You can do that as well, and then just kind of mashed up with a fork so that she can eat it pretty easily. Again, you don't have to do purees or baby food in that way. It just needs to be soft enough so that they aren't just choking, but it's great for them to be able to just experience the food as it is, and they're usually able to handle it, especially getting closer to 7 months. So I love doing the brassica vegetables because they are full of anti-cancer properties, tons of vitamins and minerals, low inflammatory. So we want to try to keep inflammation low. That's going to help the immune system. It's going to help with teething. It's going to keep baby really happy. So today we're doing meats and fish. Now, when you're thinking about purchasing meats and fish, I recommend getting the best quality as you can, like I said with everything, but really if it's cost prohibitive to buy something that's more organic or pasture raised, just maybe think about doing it just for baby, and you can freeze little individual portions. They don't eat very much, so it's going to last you a long time, and the money is going to be worth it just for a couple extra dollars. So with meats, you want to try to get pasture raised, organic, non-GMO feed. Typically those all go together, no antibiotics, hormones, but pasture raised means that the animal is raised outside as, kind of nature intended. When we're talking about fish, you want to look for wild caught fish, preferably from clean source waters or as best as you can, so you're not getting a lot of toxins and mercury. So that can be a concern with fish. You just want to make sure you're not eating the large fish like shark or swordfish. The smaller fish tend to have less contamination, and from cleaner waters there's going to be less contamination. So if you see something like Alaskan salmon, Alaskan waters tend to be a little bit cleaner. The Asian countries, maybe not so much. If you see Atlantic salmon, that's actually a type of salmon, and that's always going to be farm raised. So just kind of pay attention. Farm raised fish are fed corn and soy, which is not what they're biologically intended to eat. So it's going to change the nutritional composition. So anytime you feed an animal something different than it's supposed to be eating, it's changing the nutritional composition, and that's going to change the way that our bodies metabolize it. So that's what can make meats and things not so good for us when you're eating them kind of in their incorrect form. So just to be aware of that. What we're going to introduce today is fish. So she's actually already gotten a little bit of meat because when I've done the bone broths, there's little pieces of meat in there. And as you can see, the dog has already learned very quickly, remembering that high chair equals free food. So anyways, little bits of beef or little bits of chicken in the bone broth, just tiny little pieces that as I give her that broth, she was getting that meat. So I've been doing that, for the last several weeks. So she's kind of already gotten meat. But the meat and fish for the baby, you're going to prepare the same way. So remember, we're trying not to make this stressful. We're trying not to make it where you have to prepare all these purees and these baby foods. So basically what I do is when I'm cooking dinner, I'm usually, I got some beef or some fish or some chicken. I just go ahead and cut a little piece off and throw it in a separate pan with just a little bit of water, and I kind of poach it, meaning that it's kind of boiled. So those boiled meats are really soft and easy to chew and digest, especially when you don't have a lot of teeth, like babies. And then so the fish can be prepared the same way. You just kind of poach it. You can also bake it. So baked is usually pretty soft. You just want to cut it in very, very small pieces and kind of mash it. So basically what I've done here with the fish, this is poached, means that it, again, is just kind of simmered in some water, and then I just take a little fork and kind of mash it. So it's still small enough, she's not going to choke, but she can also kind of pick it up. You can also mix this with a little bit of breast milk or bone broth if you want to thin it out a bit and kind of give it to them on a spoon. That's a great way to do it as well. So again, your baby is going to decide whether they want to use a spoon or not, but you can kind of give them the option. So don't be afraid to start putting stuff on their tray and let them start experimenting. So around 6, 7, 8 months, they start working on that pincher grasp as well. So, give them little things to eat. They don't have to eat Cheerios and stuff to get the pincher grasp down, okay? People have been eating natural foods for centuries, and we've survived without Cheerios Cheerios to develop our pincher graphs. See, we work just fine. So don't be afraid, avoid stuff like that and go for the more whole foods and let them just pick it up themselves. So what I'm gonna do with this is just kind of go ahead and put it on her tray and let her kind of guide the process. So I just have some little kind of mashed up pieces, and what they'll do is just kind of mull it around in their mouth. But again, if you don't feel comfortable with that, you can always thin it out with some broth or breast milk or something like that, okay? So a word about fish. Fish can be something that is a little bit more allergenic, so it is good to introduce as the baby's getting foods. It's not something you want to wait too long. There has been research with allergens, earlier exposure kind of lets their bodies know that, hey, this is an okay food. A lot of people don't like fish, and so you might not cook it yourself or not really eat it outside of like tuna noodle casserole or something. So I really encourage you to start introducing these flavors to your kids. A lot of people, if you don't grow up with fish, or if you don't grow up with anything, you're just not used to it, right? So ideally, we are giving these foods to our kids so that they don't become picky, so that they like foods like this. We want them to think outside of, popcorn shrimp as seafood, okay? So if they can eat some really good high quality fish. Why does this matter? Well, again, fish has a ton of great minerals in it, but it's also really rich in what's called omega-3 fatty acids. So you may be familiar with fish oil. Boom, that's what this is, fish oil, okay? Incredibly important for brain development, and it's an anti-inflammatory. So inflammation is the root of all chronic disorders, pretty much all chronic disorders. It's the root of immune dysfunction. Even so much as, when your baby's having a ton of teething pain, they might be a little bit inflamed. That's inflammation, but if their body's already inflamed, then more inflammation from teething is gonna make them extremely symptomatic. So the more anti-inflammatory foods you can be eating if you're breastfeeding, and then also that you're feeding them, the better off they're gonna be. They're gonna be able to stay healthy. They're not gonna get ear infections as much. They're not going to be getting all these sicknesses every time they're out, okay? So keeping their body healthy, low inflammation is gonna be really good. So fish is excellent for that. So really the recommendation is to eat fish 2 to 3 times a week. Again, if you don't like fish and there's no chance for you liking fish, I recommend just buying a fillet, cutting it in little pieces, sticking all the little pieces in the freezer, and then a couple times a week you can just pull out a little piece, throw it in a pan. It really only takes a few minutes. I'm talking like 3 minutes to cook a little piece of fish all the way through. Chop it up and give it to baby. So get your kids used to stuff that maybe you wish you liked, and it's gonna make your life a lot easier again when they are not a picky eater. So part of preventing picky eating is giving them a wide variety of nutrient-dense food. So don't limit yourself to just processed stuff and forget that there's other foods that you may not personally enjoy, but that your kid might like if you start giving it to them, okay? So, if you're not going to do fish, or if you don't want to do fish right away, again, you can do the meats. A great way to prepare the meats is going to be in a crock pot.
So what's for dinner tonight? This is a great example of a way that you can just make an easy meal for the whole family, including baby, and not have to do separate meals or rely on prepared baby foods. So all I did tonight was make a crock pot, and here it is kind of mashed up and ready to go for baby. But basically, I took a roast and I put it in the crock pot with a entire head of cabbage, a few cloves of garlic, a little bit of salt and pepper, a little apple cider vinegar, a little bit of water, and just let it go for 6 to 8 hours. And then it gets nice and soft and ready to go for her. So you can see I just kind of mash it up with a fork, and then she just kind of feeds herself. I tried giving it to her with a spoon, but she just preferred to kind of pick it up and eat it herself. So she's 7 months old now, and she's really able to do that, no problem. She's gotten a lot more used to eating, maybe doing it a couple times a day. So you can start, just introducing the foods that the family's eating, and hopefully those are nutritious, whole foods that are made with real ingredients. The meat I'm using is from a farm, it's organic, pasture raised. If you can do that, that's going to be ideal, especially for baby. But again, crock pots are a great way to make the food really soft for the baby, and they're really convenient too. Sometimes we forget about those and leave them in the basement. I don't recommend using the plastic inserts though. Anytime you cook something hot in plastic, you're getting a lot of chemicals, so especially for baby, try to avoid that.
So you just go ahead and cook it, and you can also put it in with the vegetables, and that's going to give you a really great soft type of meat for baby. Also might give you a little bit of broth. So as we're doing this, we can start introducing foods that we've already introduced as well. Remember, we're building on our previous foods. Oh, you want some more, huh? It's pretty good. Good stuff. We're not just replacing. We're not saying, okay, you had fish, great, check, let's move on and never give it again. No, we want to make sure that this continues to be a part of the diet. So with this, I'd maybe give a little bit of avocado, maybe, if it's mixed with bone broth, give some broccoli or some cabbage, so she's getting now more well-rounded meals. So this can be super easy. Remember, we're just taking little bits of what we're eating ourselves, hopefully, right? Nutrient-dense foods, and you're just able to take a little bit here and there and give it to baby. And that's going to be the best way to teach your kid that we eat the same foods that mom and dad eat, but also you're giving them a really well-rounded, nutrient-dense diet. So keep going with it, guys. Remember, keep introducing all the foods you already have. Keep introducing more vegetables at each meal. Again, we're doing about 2 times a day still with eating. Still feeding breast milk on demand, at least I am. If you're working or something, obviously you'd still try to give them the same amount that they were having before, because their calorie needs are increasing now, so then we're just adding foods on top of that. And really just let baby guide the process, because they will let you know when they're done. So if they want to keep eating, let them keep eating, as long as it's not taking the place of a feed. But really let them just kind of tell you what they want. Their bodies will tell you what nutrients they need, and if you make those foods available. So we're going to add a couple more things to her tray here and just let her have a great meal. So stay tuned next time. We're actually going to move on to fruits next. So we held off on that, but we'll talk more about fruits introduction moving forward. So thanks. So one more thing to mention about fish, or really any of the foods that you're introducing, is that they might not seem to prefer it at first. And I've mentioned this before, but when my first daughter was first given fish around 7 months old, she did not really seem to care for it. She kind of tried it a little bit, and every time I give it to her, she didn't really seem to care for it. But I continue to offer it to her. So we regularly eat fish twice a week, and every time we have some, I would give it to her. Some days she would eat it, but more often than not, she did not care for it. I was very determined, though, to get her to like it. It was very important to me that she liked fish. So it wasn't until she was about 2.5 that she decided that she liked it, and she started eating it on a regular basis. She liked it baked with garlic. Actually, she really liked when we grilled it. So sometimes preparation, changing up how you prepare something, can really make all the difference in your child liking it. So anyways, just a little encouragement, don't give up. If you feel like your child doesn't really like something, remember, we don't want to label them as, oh, you don't like fish, I'm not going to give it to you anymore, or you don't like this vegetable, we're not going to give it to you anymore. You want to keep introducing the food over and over again. It can take 15 to 20 exposures of a food for a child to accept it. So keep at it. Don't get discouraged if they keep refusing something. Be really persistent, and eventually they will start liking it.